significant is it that Australia is behind 3 of these satellites being launched from the ISS?
It's a big program. There's 50 satellites being built around the world. In many of those countries where those satellites are being built, this sort of thing would be commonplace. But in Australia, this is the first time we've built any satellites for 15 years. We've bought satellites from other countries for NBN and Optus, but as far as building them here, we haven't done that for a long time.
So what went into the process at the University of New South Wales of building this lunchbox-sized 2-kilogram CubeSat?
It's a 2-litre object, 10 by 10 by 20 centimetres, and that's a standard. So we were able to buy some standard boards to fit in there, and they did things like the power supply and so on. But we built our own boards in there. We've got our own GPS receiver in there. We've got a board in there which will reconfigure itself if it gets corrupted by radiation. And in fact, the structure that we put it in, even though it meets the standard, is a 3D printed structure of a material that's never flown in space before. That's another experiment that we're going to look at when we get that into space.
So what sort of information are these CubeSats hoping to gather when they're looking at the thermosphere?
So the 50 satellites from around the world are all sensing the thermosphere, which is above the atmosphere.
So 250 kilometres from Earth? Or?
It starts at about 80 and goes to about 1,000 kilometres. And if you think about what the Bureau of Meteorology deals with the atmosphere, the lower levels where the weather is, the troposphere, and they also have a division which looks after the ionospheric prediction service, which is really space weather. So for space weather, the reason why we're interested in it is because radio signals get bounced off the ionosphere. GPS signals are corrupted by the ionosphere, so we need to know how that works to help with our satellite positioning. Many satellites, the ones that do our imagery, if you use programs that have satellite imagery, they fly through this region, and so their orbits are affected and their electronics are affected if there's lots of radiation. So space weather is caused mainly by radiation from the sun, and sensing that, the more knowledge we have about it, the better we can model how satellites will behave.
So what is the process from now? When will these satellites be launched? How long will they be flying around in the thermosphere collecting this data?
Well, the reason why we're discussing this today is because there are engineers back at the university right now packing our satellite into a box, and they'll send that over to Belgium, where all of the satellites in the big project will be put together. And in fact, our satellite does not carry its ionospheric instrument yet. It'll be integrated in Belgium. They'll all then be sent to Wallops in the US, launched to the space station in a resupply mission, and launched from the space station in January. So the launch to the space station is on the 30th of December, and early next year we're hoping to start getting data.